It's Wednesday, October 7th, and it's time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Unjust and disproportionate. That's how the Economic Development Agency, responsible for attracting international investment to Barbados, is describing the European Union's listing of the country as a non-cooperative jurisdiction for tax purposes. Invest Barbados said the island was being penalized for being partially compliant in 3 of the 10 essential elements of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development standards. Following the OECD Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes classification in March, the EU in May placed the country on its blacklist of countries. It was done despite Barbados implementing several changes to its tax exchange framework by the end of last year. Describing the EU's action as reprehensible, Invest Barbados charged that the EU ignored all the work that has been done by the government to correct the deficiencies in the 2015 to 2018 period. Residents are being urged to remain calm in the wake of a COVID-19 cluster, which includes 2 students at the Ellerslie School. The appeal from Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George has expressed concern about what he described as unilateral decisions being made by some institutions in response to the development, which he says were not based on public health advice. He made it clear that the only educational institution advised should be closed is the Ellerslie School, adding that the Ministry of Health and Wellness had seen nothing so far that would warrant any other teaching institution taking action that keeps students away from classes at this time. Students who meet the criteria for Barbados scholarships and exhibitions will receive them despite an ongoing dispute over the results of this year's Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examinations. This assurance from Acting Chief Education Officer Joy Adamson amid concern over what has been described as the delay in the announcement of this year's winners. Our Kareem Smith tells us more.
A group of concerned students, particularly at Harrison College, are reportedly up in arms over the government's delay in releasing the names of this year's scholarship winners. A spokesperson for the group told Barbados Today that over 10 upper sixth form students received grades that would qualify them for national awards. Principal Juanita Wade also confirmed that the number of students qualifying for the awards is consistent with the institution's average, but added that this year's grades were projected to be even better. When asked to give a timeline for national scholars to be announced, Chief Education Officer Joy Adamson revealed that a directive from Cabinet was first required, after which, quote, everyone would be notified as usual. She has also denied that CXC-related issues are slowing down the process and noted that the timelines for the release of names varies from year to year. According to the Chief Education Officer, the ministry will be willing to revise the number of national awardees if students meet the criteria when the review is concluded. Wade meanwhile admitted that while some students at Harrison College share the concerns about this year's results, there were others whose grades are consistent with those worthy of national recognition. Kareem Smith for Barbados Today.
Elated and unexpected. That's how Tourism Minister Senator Lisa Cummins has described Barbados' win of the Sea Trade Cruise Destination of the Year award. The island outperformed 2 other countries, including St. Kitts and Nevis, to cop the award for its role in providing a safe place for cruise ships left stranded as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister Cummins tells Barbados Today the positive news was as a result of hard work.
I think it's something that we're absolutely elated about. Barbados has worked really hard. Certainly the Barbados port has done a phenomenal job of maintaining the cruise sector over this period. We saw that at the end of the cruise season, or close to the end of the cruise season earlier this year, the Barbados port had already exceeded expectations in terms of passenger arrivals, and we were somewhere in the vicinity of approximately 850 cruise passengers. And then subsequently we had COVID strike, and then we moved from exceeding projections on passenger arrivals to becoming a humanitarian port for all of our home porting vessels. And I think that all of Barbados would have seen ships ships berth off our coast from south to north for an extended period of time. And that was something that I think all of us as Barbadians, under the leadership of Prime Minister, are all incredibly proud of. We didn't expect to be recognized or rewarded for it, but it certainly does feel good to see the recognition coming in from Seatrade today for the destination of the year for Barbados.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from our regional neighbors now. A decision by the Guyana government to liberalize the telecommunications sector gets the thumbs up from major companies. We get the details from News Source Guyana.
Local and regional mobile service provider Digicel has welcomed the government's announcement of the liberalization of the telecommunications sector in Guyana. Digicel, which has been pushing for a liberalized sector since it entered the market more than a decade ago, believes the move is coming at the right time as Guyana prepares for unprecedented growth and development because of the oil sector. In a statement, the Chief Executive Officer of Digicel, Gregory Dean, said the opening up of the telecom sector in Guyana has been long in the waiting, and his company is pleased that the day is finally here.
To say this day has been a long time coming is an understatement. For 16 years, we have asked, requested, pushed, lobbied, and pressured. Today, finally, that day is here. At Digicel, we firmly believe that access to broadband is a basic human right. Now, the people of Guyana can look forward to a brighter future with affordable access to world-class connectivity solutions that can catapult them to the forefront of knowledge and digital economy.
And finally, in the United States, COVID-19 is spreading further among White House staff as advisor Stephen Miller and a top military official are infected. More in this report from Reuters TV.
The nation's top military leaders went into self-quarantine on Tuesday after the U.S. Coast Guard said its number 2 official tested positive for COVID-19 over the weekend, a disclosure that only adds to a sense of uncertainty about operations at the highest levels of government as a wave of infections hit senior White House staff, several Republican senators, and the president himself. Coast Guard Vice Commandant Admiral Charles Ray tested positive following a top-level meeting late last week with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, including its chairman, Army General Mark Milley, the president's top military advisor. Later on Tuesday, 2 officials said the Marine Corps commandant did not meet with Ray last week and therefore was not self-isolating. U.S. defense officials speaking to Reuters on condition of anonymity stressed that the military's top brass, with the exception of Admiral Ray, had all tested negative so far and were still carrying out their duties. At the White House, which so far has reported at least 16 cases among staff and recent visitors to the complex, Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who is also infected with the virus, said on Tuesday that the rise in COVID-19 cases at the Executive Mansion is not disrupting the functioning of the U.S. government, after multiple news outlets reported on Tuesday that 2 more White House staffers tested positive for the virus a day after the return of President Donald Trump, who is still battling the highly contagious disease.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.